In his reply to Deputy Kenny, the Taoiseach says that if the government wasn't recapitalising Anglo-Irish Bank, there would be a bill to the taxpayer of €65 billion of that order. That's probably right. But do you know why that is, Taoiseach? That's because you gave a guarantee to Anglo-Irish Bank on the 30th of September when you should have done something different to Anglo-Irish Bank at that stage. The reason that Anglo-Irish Bank would have cost €65 billion is because of that guarantee. And you know, it's interesting that when we came in here and we proposed that there should be an inquiry into what happened in the banking system, you wouldn't agree to an inquiry in the banking system. And when you set up some kind of half-baked investigation of your own, you took care to exclude from that investigation the decisions made by government to provide the guarantee to Anglo-Irish Bank, because you want to cover over the close relationship that you and your party have had with the bankers and developers who have caused the economic crisis in this country. And the consequence of that, Taoiseach, is the figures that you've just now provided to us for the live register again today, in the order of, you don't tell us the actual figure, but the January figure was 436,000. You say it's in and around the same. And you say the situation has stabilised. Let me tell you about how stable it is for somebody who's lost their job. 340 people on average have lost their job every day since you became Taoiseach. And that does not include, that's the official figure, because that does not include emigrants who have left, gone back to their country of origin, or young people who have given up hope of this country and gone to Australia or somewhere else in the hope of finding a job and finding an economic future for themselves. There is no stability in being employed, and there's no stability in being employed when you can't get your social welfare payment and you can't even get a reply from the social welfare office when you make an inquiry about when your claim is going to be processed, which is the situation at the moment, because your government has become absolutely dysfunctional, not only in relation to the economy and the provision of employment, but even now in relation to the administration of normal public services. And yes, we read in the newspapers that there's concern in government about jobs. There is. The Greens are concerned about jobs, their own jobs, but that's not what the people of the country are looking for. Taoiseach, can I put one proposal to you? You're talking at the moment and you're thinking about reshuffling your cabinet and rejuggling the jobs in government and so on, and we read that there's going to be great major changes in the composition of government. Can I ask you one straight question? Because we're talking about employment here and jobs. Will you, as part of that reshuffle, will you appoint a minister with dedicated responsibility for employment? Will you establish a new department of employment, one that will actually function, one that will actually drive some employment strategy, one that will do something like, for example, the idea that the Labour Party proposed to you before the budget, which was the establishment of a jobs fund and a range of labour market interventions which would try and get people back to work, or at least get people the education and training that they require in order to be better able to pick up employment and avail of business opportunities into the future. Will you do at least that much, and will you do it soon? Because there is an urgency about the employment situation, about getting people back to work, that quite frankly you, from your reply earlier on here this morning, don't appear to appreciate, and nobody else in your government appears to understand it either. We can only judge the government's performance by results. Now, Taoiseach, this country, under your stewardship, was the first country into recession, and we're going to be the last out of it. We are now in the third calendar year of a recession in this country. We've had one in 2008, 2009, 2010. Third calendar year. Now, let's look at where your policies have got us. Your banking policy is not working. Credit is not being extended to businesses. They're closing down. I meet businesses. I met a hotelier recently whose overdraft facility, sizable hotel, overdraft facility cut from 25,000 to 15,000. You tell me, you tell that man that the government's banking policies are working. Your banking policies are not working because credit is not going to business, and because it's not going to business, businesses are closing down and people are losing their jobs. Your banking policy is not working because to date not a single loan has been transferred to NAMA. The only thing that's happening in your banking policy is that the clock is ticking all of the time against the taxpayer, with the cost of your approach to the banking system rising all of the time. On jobs, your policy is not working. We have record level of unemployment. We have little or no action on the part of government to deal with employment. You talk about the FÁS SRI report that's published this morning, saying there'll be jobs in 2015. Young people who are graduating this year will be in their 30s before they see any of those jobs. And you talk about the public finances, and incidentally, you keep forgetting that you actually have support across the House for addressing the issue of the public finances and for reforming the public service. Stop muttering. Stop muttering. Stop muttering. Because you wouldn't have, if the shoe was on the other foot, I know exactly the kind of response you would have not got. You would have not got. We supported the objectives of government to get the deficit down, and both the Labour Party and Fine Gael produced detailed pre-budget proposals. You choose not to run with them, but at least don't come back at us and say that we haven't produced constructive proposals. We have. I'll tell you what your problem with the public finances, Taoiseach, is. Every day since you became Taoiseach, the size of the public finance problem has increased by €7 million because of the loss of employment. Every job that's lost is costing around €20,000. You've lost jobs on your watch since you became Taoiseach at the rate of 340 a day. You can do the sums yourself. If people are out of work, you don't have taxes coming into you. If people are out of work and businesses are closing down, they're not spending and sales taxes are down. That's why you have a problem in the public finances. You have a problem in the public finances because of the failure of your policies to get the real economy moving again, to get businesses up and running again, and to get people back to employment. And really, I think the big question that people are asking in this country is, how much longer have they to tolerate you and your government and the misery that you're continuing to inflict on people who are losing their jobs and who are suffering out there as a result of the collapse of the economy under your watch?